Yo, what up, y'all? It's the Robot Watcher. Grab your binoculars, I'm back with another video. Today we're gonna talk about the boy that's been ripping up preseason right before this new preseason game, this last preseason game where the starters are playing. But we're gonna talk about your boy Iko Leota. Let's get into it right now. Now I'm gonna try to keep this short-winded, but y'all know I am the Yap Master of Japanese, and I will turn this into a 20-minute video, king of 20-minute videos. Look at me yapping now. But I'm gonna try to keep this short for y'all, and I'm just get to the ish, man. Iko Leota has been hooping. A lot of guys, or a lot of people, didn't really expect this. They probably didn't even know who he was before this preseason. I knew, because y'all know me. I watch film, and I watched Derek Hall coming out of Auburn. And when I was watching Derek Hall coming out of Auburn, I kept saying, "Who is this light-skinned dude on the other side with a great get-off that's punching the tackle in his mouth?" So I kind of knew who he was. Kind of like when we picked him up in undrafted free agency. He had an injury his last year, so only had 2.5 sacks in like 3-4 games. So that's kind of why he was under the radar. But I loved him from the jump. I just loved he's such a toolsy trace guy. He reminded me a lot of DJ Johnson coming out, but actually good. Y'all know I'm not a DJ Johnson fan, but because he has just much more tools to his belt than instead of just being a athlete, you know. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I mean, honestly, Iko Leota has been great as a edge setter. He's been great as a pass rusher. He's kind of exactly what Ejiro Evero wants. When you look at his outside linebackers or his edge defenders this year, I mean, you look at how he brought in Clowney. You see how they let Burns walk. They kind of want a guy who's great, stout against the run, but also is a good power rusher. And that's exactly what Iko is. I mean, when you look at his body, pause. Touch my body. Pause. Anyways, when you look at his body, I mean, bro, pause. From the waist down, pause. That guy is stacked. Like, really big thighs, really big calves, really strong base to get behind. He has a really, really good strong base and anchor that where most of his power comes from. And he still has pretty good long arms to, you know, get his hands on the tackle before they get to him. So that's, I mean, look at Jadeveon Clowney. You see, or look at DJ Johnson also. You see, Evero has a type, and Iko Leota is his type. So, but the difference between him and DJ Johnson is he actually has tools on his tool belt. And when I say tools, I mean towards the pass rush. And we've seen he has been not like a dominant pass rusher or anything in the preseason, but we've seen him in the backfield, and that's more we can say than most of the other edge defenders from last year and on the roster this year, outside of the number one guy, which was either Burns last year or Clowney this year. But let's talk about his moves. I mean, the first thing you got to talk about, I talk about that power, is his bull rushing. He has two moves that he kind of works off of his bull rush outside of just, you know, running through a guy's chest. He's not flattening guys, but he has enough punch to where when he hits a tackle, their head goes back. That's how you know you have good punch. So when it comes to his bull rush, he works a lot with his long arm. He kind of gets into the tackle's chest, keeps one arm on him, keeps one arm free. If he can, you know, quarterback scrambles out, he's able to put his hands on him, things like that. Really good long arm. Whenever you're long arming somebody, you got one hand in the middle of their chest and you're pushing that pocket, pushing it back into the quarterback, collapsing that pocket. He has shown a lot that he is even in college, he was using that as a go-to when he was at Auburn, his long arm, things like that. He kind of rips off of that whenever it's time to make a play at the quarterback. But like I said, that's one move. The next one he uses is a slip rip, or almost like a rip through. Basically, you're going to get off the ball. You got to have a good get off, which he does. He has great bursts off the line. That's why I said when I was watching Derek Hall, I'm thinking on the other side, yo, this dude's get off is fire. And he's just punching guys in their mouth. So that's what he do. He get off hard. And then you take both hands and you put them towards the center chest plate of the tackle, guard, whoever it is, and punch. That immediate punch is going to knock that tackle back, and then you're able to rip under their arms, or kind of slip under their arms and rip through and get towards the quarterback. He showed a lot of that in the preseason. He showed a lot of that at Auburn. That's kind of when he uses his speed to power, his burst of power, and kind of his, I won't say it's his main move, but it's one of his more go-to moves, or one of his more replicatable moves. And most of his bull rush moves are what he's easily able to replicate whenever he's talking about his pass rush and things like that. His next move, which he showed at the Senior Bowl, I think I have a clip for that, showed some in the NFL, but not much. It's more of a push-pull move. It's almost like the slip and rip through, where you're kind of bull rushing, or maybe not even bull rushing, but you're pushing, but instead of a punch, you extend on that tackle, and then you jerk back, pause, or you kind of pull them back and swipe over, swim over, things like that. So he's able to use those three power moves, even though push pull isn't necessarily power. That's his third move that I kind of mentioned, the push pull, to get past tackles, to kind of see where he's going first and then get where he's going. But I really like the push pull. That's a kind of necessary trait when you need a pass rush. It's kind of a basic move that you need to learn. And for him to have that, that's pretty cool. It's kind of a good fundamental move. Long arm, like I said, really good for bull rushing. Slip rip, that's a little more. I'll say a long arm is a little more advanced because you need the type of strength that you need to get into a guy's chest and get him back. But all three of those moves are kind of coming off of power. You can kind of come off. They kind of play off of each other. They're kind of in the same umbrella. Now, his next move, which I like a lot, is this double swipe that he has. So for this, you're going to have to, it's almost like a counter, but it's not. You're kind of setting up the tackle to punch first, and then you make your move. So you get off the ball fast. You kind of give them late hands. Most guys want to get their hands on first, but for this specific move, you're going to get late hands. So you're going to come off the ball, and whenever the tackle shoots his hand, you're going to take both hands, club or swipe. But you want to aim for their elbows, so whenever they pull their hands back, you can still get their wrist if they pull them back. But inside hand is going to go to the furthest hand from you. Your left hand or your nearest hand, whatever side you're on, is going to go to the nearest hand. You're just going to swipe off both hands, and you're just going to kind of run the hoop and get to the guy. He doesn't have super natural bend, so that's why all these moves are kind of power moves, and they're not necessarily super finesse. But this is the one finesse move he has, which is kind of like a counter move anyway, where he's able to, hey, I don't have super good bend, but if you're not able to get your hands on me, you're just going to be running beside me while I run this hoop. So he's used that a lot, and he's not successful. It's not 100% success rate. He doesn't always hit the hands, things like that. But whenever you're able to kind of throw off a tackle's punch or throw off a guard's punch, it's going to help you get to the quarterback and get a pressure. I don't think he's necessarily some dominant pass rusher. I think he's going to be a good number 3 or maybe a potential number 2 pass rusher, because he's able to clean up, he's able to get things like that. He's not a, hey, we got to shift to this side of the line. But he's a guy where, hey, if you leave him one-on-one, he's able to bull rush, he's able to collapse the pocket, make the quarterback move into the cleanup guy, or he's able to, hey, swipe pass, make this guy step up in the pocket, or get there himself. I really love that double swipe from him. Also, he just kind of, we're done with pass rush. That's really his only 3-4 moves that I've seen on tape from the 2 preseason games, from the college tape that I've seen, which I think is only 2 games. It's hard to find tape on him because he was so hurt. But I think he has good upside as a pass rusher if he's able to add move and things like that. But now we're going to talk about just his, like I said, his lower body and things like that, and his bull rush and his power. He's also able to anchor well in the run. We've seen it a lot in the preseason where he's able to get a good punch. Like I said, when you see that tackle's head go back or you see the guard's head go back, seen it a lot in college too, where he's able to just use his brute strength to punch, and guys are going back. But not only that, whenever he punches, he's able to extend out and kind of hold the tackle at bay and peek his head. He's going to see where the ball is. He's going to see where the ball is. He's going to see where it's going, where he needs to make his play. He's able to shed off of that. He showed a lot of that at college from the interior, from the edge rushing position, kind of damn near a 2 technique if he needed to, because they ran such a weird system at Auburn where he was kind of playing a 3-4 DN where he's damn near D tackle sometimes. But then he's also playing the outside linebacker where he's also at the edge. But mostly here he's been edge, things like that, so you can use his athleticism. But also, yeah, just has a good anchor. I mean, I've seen times where they're trying to double team him in college, and he's able to sit down where it's tight end and tackle where they're trying to combo block up them, and he's able to sit down. I've seen it, and I want to say in the NFL also, he's able to sit down on that anchor and not necessarily move. That's good. You don't want to get pushed back, because that's just giving the running back more, yards before they even pass the line of scrimmage and get into the point of attack for a linebacker. So it's good to be able to have a good anchor and sit there. But also, whenever you're setting the edge, we've seen plenty of times where he's setting the edge, he's just able to sling his tackle to the side and make the play on the running back, whether it's going inside or it's going to the outside. But just a great run defender. Like I said, Evero has a type, and this seems to be his type. Now, it's not the peak of his type where, like a Jadeveon Clowney, or maybe like who can I think of? Maybe a TJ Watt. But he does have a type, and this seems to be falling in line with his type. And it's somebody, instead of somebody like DJ Johnson, who's also an older project, I want to say equally Yoda is 24 years old, 6'3", 250, things like that. Or DJ Johnson, who's 25 years old, a year older than him, he has more tools and has more things to work with instead of building from the ground up. Somebody like DJ Johnson, who played tight end originally, or coming out and then switched to the edge at Oregon, things like that. But Yeah, now let's talk about the stuff that he needs to work on. Now, I'm not going to be super critical because this isn't a draft video. We kind of see who he is. He's been in the league for 2 years. It's not much he can do, and he's a much older prospect. It's not super leaps and bounds he can take, but then you never know because you look at somebody like Frankie Louvu, who I think is completely different players. Look at somebody who like Frankie Louvu, who I want to say was undrafted. You know, Jets kind of used him as a special teamer. He came here, played special teams, got on the field just a teeny weensy bit, showed a little something, got on the field the year before last, a lot more. He was like, oh, this guy is good. And then last year became a full-time starter. Went and got paid this year because he damn near was a star player. But the stuff you want to see him work on, I think I want to see him use more counters. I mean, I talked about how a lot of the stuff that he uses or his go-to stuff is kind of under the bull rush / power umbrella. And there's a lot of time where he's just bull rushing and he's not able to swipe the tackle's arms, or he's not able to long arm, he's not able to slip and rip past that guy. That first plan doesn't work. And all good pass rushers have a backup plan. They have a counter. Like it's basically a chess game. I'm going to do this. If you do this, then I'm going to counter off of this. But then if you counter off this, I'm going to do that. It's not a hey, just run there and get that to that guy. So I want to see him use more counters. I mean, you just see him get stuck on blocks whenever plan A doesn't work a little too much. I mean, he does get off the block here and there and make plays because he's a high effort, high motor guy. But it's not like he's a pass rush savant where, hey, my first move doesn't work. I'm going to get into this counter so I can get off of this and kind of make a play while my coverage is holding up a little better. He's more of a, hey, my first move didn't work, but I want to keep pushing, use a lot of effort, detach from the guy, run around with the quarterback and make a play. I think to take the next step up, so instead of being a good number 3, being a number 2, is he work on those counters and things like that. Also, I think he needs to refine his hand placement and fighting. Like I talked about it when I talked about the double swipe. He's just not 100% accurate. Sometimes he's swiping at nothing, and sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not. That when you swipe at nothing and now your hands aren't doing anything and the tackle has his hands on you, you're beat at that point. So refining his hand placement, refining his slip and rip, things like that. Just his hand placement whenever he's not punching. Because when he's punching, he's pretty accurate, he's pretty strong. Whenever you're using those other finesse moves, I see him in college kind of try to use a ghost move and things like that, and it wasn't necessarily the best refined technique. But if he can refine those and get those 3-4 moves down, I said he could be a good number 2 just off of that. And then especially if he adds some counters in, he can get up there to maybe 6-7 sacks a year, something like that. Maybe he can do that now just off of the effort and stuff, but never know. Might be a 9 sack guy one year if he can able to add some counters, refine his hand placement, stuff like that. At the end of the day, he's a good player, man. And I was talking about how I was kind of, when I was watching this film, and not necessarily as a player, but I was talking about how he reminds me so much of Kyle Van Noy as a pass rusher. And maybe not, off-ball linebacker, some of the other skills Kyle Van Noy has. But Van Noy is just a good number 2, a cool number 2, solid number 2, good number 3 if you have him as your number 3. And coincidentally, he was Clowney's number 2 last year on the Ravens. He had a pretty good year. I think he had 8 sacks last year. Upside ceiling, like I said, with Eku. But they're both just kind of like high effort, clean up sack guys. Moving the quarterback off the spot, letting the star kind of clean it up, or he cleans it up whenever a star moves the quarterback towards him. But they kind of move the same way too. Eku has a lot more mobility and burst and nimbleness to his game. You see it a lot more in the run game than you do pass rush. But Kyle Van Noy, he has some spin moves to him, things like that. He's able to do a little bit more when it comes to his finesse move set. So I think if Eku mess around and gain some of that stuff like Kyle Van Noy has, I think he could be a really, really good player for us. And he could be our number 2 this year, maybe not for the future. Like I said, I think Kyle Van Noy is best as your number 3, one of the best number 3s as a pass rusher. But you can survive with him as a number 2. We seen the Ravens did it last year. But that's all I really got to say on Eku. I'm really excited, man. I've been waiting on him to get some snaps since last year. Don't think he's our next Frankie Louvu. They're 2 different players. And I think Frankie Louvu is just, that's a 1 in a 1,000 type of shot. I mean, that guy turned into a star out of nothing. But I could see the upside to where he's a really good, serviceable, productive player. Maybe even a star. But it's kind of, he's 25. It's a little bit more, far-fetched than it was for a Frankie Louvu type of guy. But yeah, man, I really love Eku. If you know me, I've talked about Eku a couple times on Twitter, things like that. But if you like the video, man, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, do all that. Let me think of what you think Eku Leota will be this year. What do you think his potential is? Who he reminds you of? Things like that. How do you think we're doing in the preseason? Do you care about the Stars not playing or playing the last game against the Bills? Whatever. let me know all of that. Anyway, I'm gonna do a giveaway pretty soon. I'm gonna give away some game tickets. You're not gonna be sitting in the hundreds, row 3, but you won't be sitting up top in the 500, 300, wherever you want to call it, at the last, row. You'll be in some decent seats, especially if it's for a Panthers fan. We don't necessarily have too many bad seats in the stadium. I don't know why I want to say arena so bad, but I will be doing a giveaway soon. I'll drop more details on Twitter. I'll talk about it more in 2 episodes or so. But to enter the giveaway, you just got to subscribe, follow the Real Ball Watcher on Instagram, which I'm going to make that page next week. But anyways, this has been the Real Ball Watcher. Put your binoculars up. See you next Friday. Like, share, comment, do all the YouTube stuff. I'm out.